Hey, so what did y'all cover? So make sure I don't like double dip. Like,
Hey,
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
It doesn't matter. We were just
So, yeah,
a
we're
lot of
gonna
AI, a lot of AI
roll.
stuff and like how it's
yeah, whatever.
We're
Yeah,
rolling.
whatever.
A lot of
Rolling.
AI safety or lack
Yeah.
thereof.
Yeah.
And
Is that
the
your battery
fact the fact that it's scary because even the engineers that are engineering this don't even know what these things are capable of. And
Yeah.
the fact that open AI is scary. Narrow AI, not so bad. It's going to cure breast cancer or whatever. But open AI is just the Wild West, man. And no one has any real idea. You hear a lot of people saying, when we get there, we'll figure it out when we get there. I don't believe that
Yeah.
because it's so much smarter than us at this point, and you can't see over that horizon. We have no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
I don't want to mess
That's
with
it.
your
No,
It's
you're
okay.
good. You're good.
We can cut around
Okay.
it. Look at
Nice.
this sourdough bread.
Look at that.
Beautiful. Where'd you get that?
Mike Litwin's wife.
makes it.
Oh, nice, man.
Mike's wife.
And feel the density of that thing. It's
Oh, yeah. You can crack somebody over the head
Yeah.
with that.
the best that she makes the best sourdough.
Nice.
That's the best thing that ever came out of COVID was everybody wanted to
Making
get sourdough.
sourdough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the problem is when real life happens, it screens out like the Breaking Bad like purists from because I feel like you have to have a full chemistry set. Like, got to feed the starter, you know, and keep it alive. And
Yeah.
did you ever read? Because you're confidential, I'm sure you like.
Yeah.
So there's a story in Anthony Bourdain's book, and there's this one dude who made like obscenely good bread, but he was like this crazy pothead that like would never show up, and he was like unreliable, but his bread was like next level. And like if you ever like he had this thing where like he would break all the rules to hire this guy just because, and then later on, many years later, he's at some restaurant and he tastes it and he's like, oh my god, no way, it's him. Like he just knew the dude, but he had all these experiments. I just thought that book was really awesome. That was like the
It
first
was a
time,
fantastic book.
because it sort of put the curtain back and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is a wild
Yeah.
industry.
Well, what's interesting because I'd always cooked at really high end restaurants in France and in New York, so I never saw a lot of the drug usage, and the sex in the bathrooms. Not to say I didn't see any,
That's
but
too bad.
Give it time.
Yeah.
You
But,
missed all the good parts.
but it was a great read, man. And it's funny because guys like that can do exceptional bread, but have all these kind of things that you create workarounds for people like that. And I find myself making excuses for guys like that. Like when somebody says, "Chef, why don't you fire that person? They did this, this, and this," and it's like, yeah, but they can do this so well, man. And for me to find somebody else that can do that is gonna be like,
I know.
Don't fire the young kid at San Pedro.
Yeah. What's that?
The young kid that works in the afternoons. I don't know his name.
Carlos,
Probably.
little Hispanic kid.
Yeah.
He's a good kid.
Oh, he's so
Awesome.
good.
I know a guy who has a restaurant, and he had, it was like Bourdain, like the bartender was hooking up with and he's like this bartender can sling the drinks,
Right.
And like the revenue is like, and he's like, I had to keep him, and I said, hey, bro.
Let's do that. Let's talk a little bit more about Max's sister. Sure. Because Lorenzo, the urban nerd, the really big in development and stuff like that. And we talked about a lot of. He's brought in a few. I don't know if you know. He helped recruit the Curry Boys.
Yeah. No, I knew that. I read that somewhere. I don't know if it was.
So tell them a little bit about like the your price points and stuff like that, and kind of where you are with that, and see what like his opinion on that. I'm curious.
I'd like to get right now I'm posing this question to a lot of different people. My mom included. She's 85 years old, but she's super active. She goes out with all her girlfriends to eat, and I asked her what she thought of this pricing structure that I've come up with. I've come up with a couple ideas, and I don't want to repeat everything I said.
No,
I
it's
apologize.
fine. It's fine.
But
I'm so excited.
There's a couple of things that I consider pain points that are occurring right now. Restaurants always had the goodwill of people on their side, because they always would come for donations and et cetera.
Right.
And the restaurants would be the first people that stepped up. Now you almost feel like this anger towards restaurants because people have had to raise prices because cost of goods have gone up, et cetera, right? The tipping culture has gotten out of control. People don't want to tip. They don't want that screen turned towards you after you get a cold brew and they hand it to you and they want 30%.
Yeah.
So I have decided to create a restaurant with a couple of tenets. One is that we don't want to, we want to do extremely high-end food. And when I say high-end food, like technique-driven.
Right.
So really beautiful food that's technique-driven. And if you order a medium rare steak, it comes out medium rare and it's seasoned properly, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want any entree, for example, to be above $20.
Right.
I want people to be like, holy shit, that's like, we go out to the XYZ restaurant and that same dish is $50.
Right.
We don't want any cocktails to exceed $11. You go to so many restaurants around town and you're paying $18 for a cocktail.
Yes.
And it's just ridiculous. It's become ludicrous. And then the tipping thing, as I mentioned, people are mad about it, and rightfully so. And so we want to turn down the temperature, dial it back, and say, hey, look, I'm paying my staff a bigger hourly.
Right.
So feel comfortable. If you want to leave 10 or
Right.
15%, that's fine with us. No one is going to be upset or even look twice. It's extremely generous combined with what they're making hourly. So those are kind of the three tenets. The fourth leg to this table, if you will, is I want to do tiered pricing. So what I mean by tiered pricing is every appetizer on the menu will be one price. So you don't have to price shop and say, man, I really want the crispy sweetbreads, but that's $5 more than I want to spend, so I'm going to go with something that I'm not as crazy about. So all the appetizers will be one price. All the salads will be one price. All the entrees will be one price. So I may take a hit on 50% of the items. Like, man, you're selling that steak for way too cheap. You're not making any money. That's true, but those are my loss leaders. But on other items that I hope people will order, we'll make our margins. So kind of like what HEB does, right?
Yeah.
You go in and they have some wines and you're like, how are they selling those wines for that cheap? Well, that's their loss leader to get you in the store.
Right.
And so we're hoping that, there's a huge margin on alcoholic beverages, and even at $11, you're making good money on that. So we hope that people come in and instead of just having one drink, maybe they have two, And so we're churning that stuff out.
I have so many thoughts. I love it. But but wait, finish, because I don't want to vomit them all. But I'm ready.
No, so then I hopefully I'll have answers for your questions or your thoughts. But I feel that when we had mentioned this as a dad, I use the example. I go with my family out to eat quite often, and I take the bullet for the family in the sense that my kids order crazy expensive stuff and my wife gets whatever she wants. That's fine. I want them to do that. But I'm always like price shopping. Like, I really want this, but I'm going to settle for this. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's a stupid mentality because maybe it saves $3 or $5 or $10, and it's like, why didn't I get what I wanted? And that takes that pressure off a lot of guests. Like maybe they're like, I would have liked to try it, but it's just a little bit outside of my budget. So I think that's
especially if trying something new.
Something new.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about your lamb heart dish.
Yeah.
Like if it's the same price, it's not going to cost more or anything like that. It's like the same thing.
Yeah, there's not a big price commitment. And on top of that, you always have that one couple that you're friendly with, and you go out to dinner with them, and they want to split the tab, but they've had like 6 drinks, and you're not a big drinker. You've had one drink, and you're waiting for somebody to say something, but nobody says anything.
I've seen those TikTok videos.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already paid for my
one
check.
ever said
I'm not part of this. I'm paying over there.
That's right.
There's a lot of passive aggressive friendships out there because of that.
Yes.
We're like, oh, I don't want to go out with you anymore.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Everybody else drank, and I was like, I don't drink.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, the tab was a bunch of us. It was like $1,200, $1,500. They were like, oh, there's 12 of us. Like, we'll split up to be this. I was like,
$20
hold on,
salad.
like mine was $80. Like,
So go ahead. I want to hear what your
Okay,
thoughts
well,
are.
first off, I love it. I mean, I think you nailed it in that the price stuff is weird, and I always say, like, so the current book, and these guys have heard this probably ad nauseum. The current book I'm working on, which I probably should have published it like a year ago already, but it's called The Law of Boodle.
Okay.
And it's about like what are the unspoken rules of San Antonio, and pricing is one of them. It's affordability and approachability is like key. It's the reason why people camp out overnight to get their Fiesta Parade chairs, because it's affordable, it's all day, and it's for the whole family. And
Yeah,
it's
that.
you know what I mean. That's the equation. And so what you're doing is you're simplifying the price. You're saying, hey, it's not variable. Like, if you can fit in this price, and also like, you're right. Like, those are really affordable prices. And I've seen some people where I just go, man, there was one tenant that I met with And right when I saw his first menu, I said, dude, this is a direct violation of Budo. Like you don't have anything within batting range.
Right.
You know, I go, you know, but again, I said, I'm not gonna tell you to do your business, but I just go, I think you need a couple of items that are within reachability, you know, if you want to bring in that customer base, which I think you can't survive without it. So I think the pricing tiered structure, especially with what you're talking about, like nothing exceeds this. And alcohol, and then nothing exceeds this on that. I love that. I think the tipping one, I love. I think so. I love it. I think it's going to require some really smooth scripts from the servers.
Agreed.
You know, to say, because people go, are you really saying that, or are you going to give me a face?
Right.
Like, is there going to be some tension when I say no tip?
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody struggles with.
Sings does a good job of that.
Oh, do they?
So
actually, yes, they do. They have a script. You're right.
I usually go to the one downtown on St. Mary's, and as soon as you order, and they turn around, they'll tell you 12% is already included or something like that. Feel free or not, whatever. Like they do something, but they tell you there's X amount is already included. I don't need to tip more, but you can. And then the options on there are only like 3, 5, and 8. They're like real small little things. Yeah. So even if you already know that you're tipping something, but then you see a 5%.
Yes.
It doesn't feel as because you already know what you're told.
And how do you feel about the fact that it's already built in? It's not built in. It's an actual additional
I'm a businessman,
right?
So I understand it's either going to be done that way, or they're going to pay the hourly. Either way, I'm paying for it.
I think,
and the cost of the food.
But I think you have a different mindset than most of the consumers. Most consumers don't even think about that.
Think about
the tip, like it's built in already.
Well, most restaurants it's not built in because they're making $2 an hour.
Most restaurants isn't, but I don't think most people think that way.
But if I go to at a point, Cibolo Creek Brewing in Bernie, there was no tipping allowed, and their script was because you order at the counter and then you go sit down. They're like, even if you tried, like, no, they take great care of us. We don't accept any tips whatsoever.
But I think you nailed it. I think you nailed. That's the model. Because I remember the last time I was there, I remember that, and I remember feeling great. Because
I don't have to decide what to tip.
They're giving me permission that no matter what I do, it's guilt-free.
But I think when you leave it optional
that,
I think when you leave it optional like that, and this is just my opinion, but I think when you say, hey, you can tip a little bit, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is now. Like, you don't have to tip.
Like you feel very obligated to.
No, you feel obligated. Here's the thing.
But
not
I think,
only do you feel obligated,
if you give it an option, though, it takes away from that to where if it's just like, hey, the prices might be a little bit higher, but it's built in, like, you don't tip.
Yeah.
The thing that I think that it's being not tired, but like just being exhausted with all the tipping and stuff like that. It expands out. It's not just the tipping. It's not just restaurants.
Yeah.
I don't like going to Valero and they're like, do you want to round up and donate to this? You go to HEB, do you want to round up and go to this? Every single place that you go to
is asking for money.
My home golf course. Every weekend they have the same people that say, hey, give us $20 to get it on the green and we'll give you this. I'm like, you've already asked me 1,000 times. Just stop asking.
It's decision fatigue.
I don't want to have to go. It's being begged fatigue.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere I go, somebody's asking for a little bit more, a little bit of this, a little bit here, and it's like I can't keep giving, and it imposes a guilt that is unnecessary on me.
And I would say that, like, I bet you 99% of cashiers don't even know they're doing it, but their silence, they don't know that their silence to the customer is pressure. Whether they mean it, and like I remember I went to,
it's a sales technique.
Exactly. It's a beautiful, and it works. So like I'll go to Extra Fine and I'm just buying coffee beans.
I knew
right?
you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say Extra Fine.
I love and I was like, Chad, please don't kill me, But actually, it's great. It's great service. So like, but it's exactly what we're talking about. No one is saying, hey, there's no direct pressure to tip on my bag of beans, but when they turn it over. And they don't say anything. They're the nicest, Chad, well trained, like they're all great. but I still feel the pressure to tip the $3 on my 20, you know, and versus what Sings do. And Graham always used to say, we're after tactics, not strategies. He'd be like most people can agree on the strategy. It's the tactic. Well, what Sings has done is a tactic. They've said, here's the script, and they're psychologically set me free. And I actually think the proof is it Sings is packed all the time. It's packed every single time you drive by. It's got great food, and they've nailed that pricing sort of structure. So I think you're headed in the right direction, and I hope that there's like a wave of what you're doing that people follow.
And their price points are very similar to what you're talking about.
So what's interesting,
very similar price.
What's interesting about this is, well, there's a couple of things, but like some of the most accomplished restaurateurs in the U.S. have tried. Danny Meyer's a perfect example. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
He tried to do no tipping, and it just didn't work. He had to give up after, I think he tried it for a year. The no tipping thing, where you don't accept tips, not in a situation like y'all had mentioned, like at the beer,
Cibolo Creek.
Cibolo Creek, that's a little bit different, okay? It's almost like a modified coffee shop, if you will. Like if I owned a coffee shop again, I could easily say no tipping. We're paying these baristas $20 an hour. They make enough
Right.
doing that. So we don't need tips. In a restaurant where you're reliant on a wait staff that has knowledge and you're actually encouraging them to accumulate more knowledge about wines and the food you're serving and the seasonal products,
Make strong recommendations.
Make strong recommendations. You have to figure out some kind of a, if not a classic tipping system, some kind of a workaround where they're good. Because like I want to pay these guys and gals what they're worth. There is no doubt about it. But I think to put that over the top, there's got to be some kind of a tip from the guests. Otherwise, they won't even, accomplished wait staff won't even give it an opportunity. They're like, you're not going to let people tip us? No.
Right.
It's just so ingrained in our...
The best waiters, though, will make a lot more money where they can go and get
So let's take, for example, if I paid them $25 an hour, which by anybody's metric in San Antonio, that's a pretty decent hourly wage, $25.
It's a great hourly wage.
And if a waiter works a 4-hour dinner shift, they're making $100, man. They can go and make that off of one table at, I don't know, Morton's.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So your model in the new restaurant, is it wait staff required or is it service counter type of thing?
So at first, and my wife was about to shoot me, I we started to have this weird kind of mixture of kind of a higher end dining experience, but order at the counter. And then I started thinking about it with her encouragement. She's like, I don't know if that's going to work. And then I started talking to people and everybody's like, you guys are it's going to be sit down where I can get some of the style of food and service that you've had in your previous full service restaurants. And I heard that over and over again, and it started making me nervous. So I said, man, I got to do sit down service. I can't do counter order. And then we thought maybe we could do breakfast and lunch order at the counter, dinner, sit down service. But then I thought it's too confusing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I finally said, let's do sit down, traditional sit down dining with a waiter, and figure out a way that we can come up with some spiel that encourages guests to not feel obligated to leave a tip of more than 12 or 15%. Because all I'm trying to do is dial it back to a time where people didn't mind tipping 15% on good service.
I used to think I was a baller because I gave 20% all the time.
Right.
And now I'm a cheapskate.
Yeah. Well, then I think that works. I think it's like, then it's just a matter of, the words matter.
The words matter.
And I think everything, and they do a good job of it, and maybe it's a little narrative story based, or I don't know what it is, but I think that's probably where you're going to have to spend a lot of experiment time. I agree. Like the ones that do it, what are they saying, and how to repeat that? Because I don't remember the script, but when you said it, it came back to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because but it was very nice. They were like, hey, whatever's included, feel free to not, and I just felt
The first time I heard it, it was like a weight off my shoulders. Like, oh, okay.
You felt the psychological, yes. Yeah. And having a waiter do it is great because then I go, hey, like I'm getting that psychological freedom, but I'm also getting sit down.
Yeah.
Because theirs is they just bring it to you, you order at the counter. I love that as a notion, but I just think the pricing thing is, actually, it's funny. a old wise real estate person. Wasn't Graham, but I won't say who it was. But they used to tell me, they said in San Antonio restaurants, you get rich feeding the poor, you get poor feeding the rich.
I always say that. Yeah.
And I just thought, man, that is so interesting. But I think it goes back to the law of Budel, which is, hey, you have to have a menu that is approachable for, us, the everyday, like the economically person that's right in the middle. And so I think the fact that you're thinking that way, I just think it's a great notion, because everyone else is just sort of responding to the economics of what's happening, and as a result, it just drives everything up.
It does. Even we had mentioned this before you came in the room, was the surprising, and it's actually not a surprise. I take that back. That wasn't a good choice of words, but it's very interesting to see what taquerias, which have always been the fabric of our San Antonio.
Yes.
The price points have just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Just for a bean and cheese taco.
Yes.
They're 2-3x what they were just a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yes.
And now I'm seeing it in a lot of taqueria drive-thrus where they just put tape over the numbers and you see them revising the prices on a bi-monthly basis.
I mean, that's
crazy. Enough salsa anymore, too.
Well, because when the prices go up, they had to raise their prices, and then like eggs dropped down. They didn't lower the prices back down. They kept them up where they were.
Oh yeah,
which it's understandable. Like,
hey, my mom my Mama Gomez is all she's like. She can tell you, oh my God, the leg sticks at Churchy's are getting smaller. Like she's mad. Okay, and she's like, Popeyes, they're still okay, but at Churchy's they're shrinking. I don't even bother KFC, and I'm like, well, Mom, KFC probably just eating any of those. But she was very angry. But I go, hey, it's real. The pain is real.
Man, the bean and cheese in San Antonio is the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
100%.
You see that skyrocketing,
Yeah. It's like a farmers, like the price of corn is like somehow related to the price of like oil. Right. I'm like, the bean and cheese taco tells you like the economic pain of the city. Like that's I mean, but it's true. I did a taco run the other day and I was like, I'm approaching $30 right now. Oof. Like this is crazy, And I go, what? I never ever had to worry about my taco order. Like in the past, you go, it's getting crazy. So, but you're, it's everything that we sort of thought it was: cost of goods, cost of labor, all the things.
It's funny. There's a disconnect between like someone will go to the grocery store, for instance, and they'll see that eggs have just like skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Wow, that's nuts that they're so expensive." But then they'll go and get an egg taco. And they're like, why is this so much money? Like they're furious.
Yes.
Well, restaurants have to pay that cost of goods as well, so we're not free of that, unfortunately, but people don't make that connection.
Now, do you do an analysis of like in the tiered pricing, or actually a question before my question, have you found the classic like 80-20 principle where it's like, hey, 80% of my revenue comes from this 20% of items, either on the menu?
Yeah, we look at our P mix and
definitely
we do that, and I try to modify according to that. Like I'll whack off the bottom performer, performing.
And so in that model on the new menu, you're not worried that if the 20% that accounts for 80% happens to be your lowest margin one. Or you're just like, hey, I'll take it or I'll whack it if I have to.
In that circumstance, it's on me to make the lowly chicken look as good or appealing to someone as the piece of steak. So like what you'll do is you'll take a piece of chicken. I was thinking about this last night because somebody asked me a very similar question. And I thought, well, with that piece of chicken, I will add a couple of morels, which will kind of dress that dish up.
Right.
So it'll raise, even though the profit margin, even with the morels, is much wider. Somebody might say, man, I've never had morels before. I'm going to get the chicken and morels.
Right.
It would be deflating to me if every single person that came in, because my buddy is very cynical, he said, everyone's going to come in and order steak. You're screwed, dude. Why would anybody order anything else? And
I still think it's worth a shot. I think you're doing.
I think like going back to the chicken and you get the morels with it.
Yeah.
But whatever the most profitable one that you want people to really order, like throw in an extra side with it or throw in something.
There will be something that you kind of gild the lily with that one. So, and the fact of the matter is so like another aspect to this that we haven't discussed is to get all these prices, like somebody could say without seeing my food, they're like, how can you charge $20 for a steak? And I go for what I would imagine is you're serving quality meat, which we're going to. I go next door and it's $60 for a steak. Well, what I'm going to explain to guests is, and it'll have it on the menu, kind of like in Europe, it'll show the weight of that meat. So like, let's say I do a 5-ounce portion of a New York strip rather than a 10-ounce portion. So through portion control, we're going to put sides. No one's going to go away hungry, but at the same time, you're not going to see people walking out of our restaurant with all these to-go items for a meal the next day, which is a big... People in San Antonio love a restaurant where they can get 2 meals out of it. That is like a huge,
100%,
huge thing.
Yeah.
That won't happen in this circumstance.
I'm taking some for my uncle too. I'm just gonna take the leftovers. Yeah. That's also very law of Fudo right there. That's
a law of everywhere.
That's true. You're right.
The Carmen's Italian restaurant in New York City.
Yeah.
Known for big families. That when I was there, I was talking to the waiter, and they're like, "Oh, we have a lot of locals that'll come here just by themselves. They'll order it, they'll take everything home, and then they've got their food for the whole week."
Yeah.
And it's like, it's everybody does that.
They call that meal prep now, Ken.
That's true. That's right. Yeah. That's what the healthy people are
But
doing.
it's like, you're talking about like that portion control. The I split meals all the time with Jennifer and stuff like that, instead of like, because it's too much. Like, I'm tired of the sizes of food of portions of foods that we're getting, because everybody's trying to be a little bit healthier, not put on, and it's like
some of you are, some of us are
just get smaller plates and nobody's ever gonna know.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you go dinner, you don't need 2,500 calories for dinner.
Yeah. It's true.
And that's typically what you're getting is about 2,500 calories for a dinner, and that's like your whole day. That's all you need.
Yeah, you know, I'm dying to hear your thoughts just on the trends in general, because like right now, like I do worry for all of my food and beverage friends, because I feel like it's tough.
Never been this bad.
Just like, I mean, just give us the hype, because I really do worry about it, and because I'm not in it like you. I just like, I'm like, what's happening under?
I don't know anybody who's not down. Like, if you're only down 8 to 10%, you're like top of the game, man.
Wow.
Like, it's nuts. We walk into restaurants now, my wife and I, with our children, that used to at one point be really busy, and you most likely will be maybe the only table, 1 or 2 others. And this is across the board. I also talk to all the people who provide product for me, like the milk guy, and you can glean a lot of information from these guys. And they're like, oh yeah, orders are getting turned back like crazy, or we're chasing people for money, and places that you would not suspect. And it's the perfect storm right now. It's uncertainty in the marketplace. It's the rising cost of goods. It's the fact that a lot of our workforce is too scared to show up for work, for whatever reason. It's
right.
People, and rightfully so in a lot of circumstances, demanding more money. And,
right.
I mean, it's all these things, and insurance keeps going up, and talking about tipping, we get a guy come fix our HVAC. He turns around his iPad and it's got a place for tipping.
That's fucking bullshit.
It's crazy. It's like that damn iPad.
Yeah, the plumbers too. The plumbers are doing it.
We're gonna cut that out. I don't need any of my contractors thinking they need a tip.
No, you know what?
I'm gonna put a 15.
No, you know what? At your next closing, you need to turn it around and be like, I know there's a commission fee, but if you want to add a little,
I know we've got our commission already, but just if you feel
so inclined.
You know what I find interesting, that I don't know if you guys, if you all have experienced this or not, but I experienced this with a painter and with a plumber. They do, it's kind of like tiered pricing. They say, do you want the gold, or it's platinum, gold, or bronze, or maybe silver? I don't remember, but those are the levels. Like, we recommend that if you want to paint the front of your house, you go with like the highest tier. For the back, it's not as important, so we can do like a gold level.
Wow.
It's weird. I've seen that a couple of times now.
We do some listing menus to where it's like, hey, you want to list your house? We got 1, 2, 3. You choose which one you want to go with, and what services we'll offer and what you'll pay and kind of things like that.
Talk about feeling like a cheap ass.
Yeah,
I want the copper. I want the copper on the front of my house.
Yeah, no, I think the reason I don't know it is that I'm on the like duct tape tier level. Like where everything that all the guys in my toolbox are like, hey dude, just get the AC work. I don't care what you do up there, just do it. Yeah, if you gotta kick it, if you need a coat hanger, like whatever, dude. Like I can't, So it's
I don't want them to have an iPad.
Yeah, that's the level. Yeah, exactly. That's the level I'm on for everything right now. But so you think? Do you think it's in my head the two categories are split like small business, F&B, and then chains, the big chains.
Small business what?
Small business category of food and beverage.
Oh, food and beverage.
And then the chains, like the Chili's is of.
Yeah.
I love to pick on Chili's, even though
Triple Dipper, my kids love that one
So,
too.
but do you
All the tech guys love the Chili's.
yeah, they've got good sliders, but like
The
but
Presidente Margarita's not bad
is it
either.
the same on all of them? Do you think?
To a degree, yes, but with their buying power and things, they
Okay,
can
yeah,
keep
they can
pricing down,
negotiate.
and they can absorb a lot more than an independent operator.
Yeah,
when you
this-
have 500 units,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
one is like flailing, it's not as big a deal as if you have 3 or 4. That one can pull down the whole house of cards.
Yeah. This is.
And then a lot of those big companies, they own several different chains of restaurants
right
in there.
Right.
To where if the chicken place isn't doing good, the burger
Yeah.
place
But
might be.
what's scary about what we're experiencing now is across the board, whether it's chicken or burgers or high end or low end, everyone is suffering right now. Chain or independent owner, sales are down. I mean, they're really down.
Bill Miller just shut down their flagship location downtown.
I saw that, yeah.
The one downtown at their commissary and everything like that. The original Bill Miller.
Yeah.
They
Really?
just closed it down.
What was the purpose of that? I never read
Of having it there or like
No. Why they closed it? Weren't they building a new facility?
I don't know. I just read the headline.
Oh, I think they're building. I think they're building a big
Don't
one.
drill down on anything.
Yeah.
Anything I say, don't drill
Yeah.
down on.
I'm 50,000 foot above.
No, you're supposed to say we'll verify that later. We'll verify it. We'll put it
That's
in
a
the.
very good question.
Yeah.
I've got a great guy
Yeah.
that has that answer.
Matter of fact,
Actually, we'll put the show. That'll be in the show notes. We'll put that in the show notes.
wise
No
words of
problem.
Gina, we need more
Yeah.
research.
We need more research.
We need more research.
Oh, that's funny, man.
We need more research.
Oh, Gina.
We love Gina.
We love our city leaders. We love our city, but you need 6 votes to do it.
See, like I halfway respected the Project Marvel. We need more research. I was like, oh, I can understand that. But then like the dog thing came out, or like dumping dogs. The fine went from $500 to $2,500, but we need more research to say it's $2,500 fine.
Well, I think that
Paralysis by analysis.
not and I promise I'll keep us like in the safe zone here. But here's the thing, because I'm writing this series on Project Marvel, and
you just need more research.
I think there's a couple trolls that if they see me on the street, like that I will get murdered. But there's this one lady, she's gonna kill me.
Well, I want to know.
Let's
after
not
you
be hyperbolic
finish
because
your
that shit
thought,
happens now.
I want to know what your thoughts are on Project Marvel.
Oh, I have. So, I'm very for it, and I'm doing this series. So I'm doing a 12-part series. I've written 4 articles. I'm going to drop my 5th one tomorrow.
In the Voice of San Antonio.
Voice of San Antonio, and really, it sort of came from like this whole law of Poodle, where I was trying to explain it to my parents, and I just said I can't really explain this well, and so it's sort of great because every article I have to do a bunch of research. I have to go pull citations, and then I have to call people, and I call people all over, from the city, even say, hey, will you fact check this? Like, I don't want to make, and so it just takes a lot of work, and I think the thing that I found. So I think the first thing I'll say is I think that whether you want to put it on the Spurs or the city, I think it's probably on the Spurs more. I think the first big misstep they did was they didn't actually sell the pitch. Like, what is the pitch? Why do we need this? As opposed to, I think it was just the assumed pitch that you want to keep the Spurs? And I go, I don't think that's a good pitch. I think it's like, you need to buy my product for this benefit. And then what happened next is I just think there's been a lot of misinformation. And so for me, my angle is always economic development. And it's funny because you brought up the Curry Boys guys. So one of the guys, Curry Boys, Sean Wynn, is the guy that I love them all.
He's a great guy, man.
But when he worked for me at Geekdom, so before he moved here, I met him through this nonprofit called Venture for America, and it was like Teach for America, but for entrepreneurs. And so our first class was all women. They were super awesome. And then one of them said, hey, I got a friend. He's from Texas. He's in Baltimore working at a cyber. He worked at Goldman Sachs. He's a super smart guy. He wants to come back to Texas. So we flew him in, and it was, and it was like man crush. Like, he was so cool. I took him to Feast. I felt like I never lost a deal at Feast. Like Feast, I was like, it was tapas, I was like, especially for a young person, I'm like, look, don't leave this area. Everybody's cool like this.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's playing cool.
Don't leave this
Leave this street. Yeah, and, wow, it felt terrible. But he bought in, right? And so Sean moves here, but it was difficult. Like I always found, especially at Rackspace, when I was a hiring manager. You could always hire and relocate a person with a family for the most part.
Dude, you're about to say exactly the spiel that I
Yes.
utilized when people said, when I had Larev, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go.
It's the exact same formula that I used for that, because when that same guy has a choice between Miami, Chicago, San Francisco, and San Antonio.
Preach.
Yes, they're always going to take that.
Always. If they have a family, I could sell you. Oh man, we're great for family. We got SeaWorld. If you're young and you're single,
it's hard.
I wouldn't even waste my time. I'd tell the recruiter, hey man, will you find me, someone who's already, because I think that, and actually, and there's real data around this. I remember. When we opened our Austin office, it accelerated every person under 30 in San Antonio headquarters leaving. Yeah. They all immediately left. We accelerated because they knew. And so for me, so then I go work for Graham, and we're trying to recruit companies and people like Sean, and it was the hardest thing ever. We had Techstars here, so I mean, just imagine this. Graham and a couple other people said, we're gonna pay the money, we're gonna take care of all the sponsorship for Techstars to open an office here. We're gonna remove every obstacle, and they still didn't want to come. They came and they lasted a couple years, and then they moved to Austin. Yeah. So even. Not begging someone, but highly motivated to bring them there. And so when I tell people this, and I think this is where the disconnect, this is probably the hardest pitch for me too, because I want to tell someone, hey, everyone at one time knew someone that worked at AT&T or USAA or Rackspace. And they were very proud of that. That person made a great living. And I go, and then one by one, Rackspace shrunk, AT&T left. USAA is shrinking, and so I go, hey, there's a day coming when you're gonna want those jobs and those salaries, and those companies won't even consider moving here if we shoot down this project, because they will say, why would I move my company to a city that's in decline when you can't keep this? And the other thing is, when I was recruiting companies, this is why I'm so fascinated by your world, because I think your world. Everything hinges on. You're recruiting young people, you're recruiting a tech company, and the things that influence their decision had nothing to do with tech. It had nothing to do with, do you have an accelerator, or how much IP how many patents. They're like, hey, do you have a 6th Street?
Yeah.
Do you have a great place for me to go meet people? Do you have a great place for me to take my on date night? Do I have a great place to take my co-founders to meet co-founders? And I went, it's all placemaking. Everything in that world is placemaking. And I just go, well, where's the best place to facilitate that? It's bars and restaurants. 100%. And you get a good bar and restaurant to me is worth 100x what any economic development incentive package you could put together for that. Yes. I just think that it's because young people especially, they don't imagine themselves in sort of our tier of our careers. And this is a quote, and these guys have heard it before. It's a quote from my favorite pastor who's in New York. He used to have a church in Manhattan. He said, young people imagine themselves being young, sexy, and hot. So the question is, where do you imagine yourself young, sexy, and hot? And the overwhelming answer is not San Antonio, Texas. Yeah. And so when you talk about Project Marvel, I'm talking about the ability to show the world that we're in the game, No pun intended, and that we have exciting things to do in our urban core, and you should move here because when you think about South Texas and even down into Monterey, we're Manhattan to that whole population. So you want to say, hey, you want to come here, and it's a different product than Austin, and you want to move your company here, you want to start your career, or hey, 100,000 college students, Trinity grads, UTSA, you should consider staying for a while, right? And go do your thing or come back. But I think without it, it's like I remember when Rideshare left. They left for 1 year.
Yeah, I remember.
And we started Tech Block and did all these things. And I remember in that time, one of our co-founders, Lou Mormon, he was recruiting a cyber company out of LA. They were a CDN company. And Rideshare leaves, they do an article, and he just sends an email to Lou. And all the email said was, WTF. That's it. That was the whole email. And he was like, why would I ever move my company to a city that doesn't even have Uber and Lyft? And I go, so to me, that little story in a microcosm, you multiply by 1 million if you lose Project Marvel, if you lose the Spurs. And I think that's a very economic development heavy pitch, which is why I'm for it. It's hard for me to connect that to the average person other than to say the future jobs that you want, or your kids want, or your uncle wants, or your sister, they are going to be here because of this project, or they're not going to be here because of this project. And so I think that's really, the problem. That's my number one pitch is I'm actually not a sports guy. I went to health careers. I think we had like water polo and so I'm actually not that, but I understand the value of having something that is dense, that is in a district, that it's in the urban core, that's really well done. And I think that it will be a job magnet. Also, too, someone, one of the trolls put in my comment, it's hard because I need to read them because there is some gold. And so one of them said, oh, well, the tourism industry is in decline, and these incentive packages rely on tourist dollars. And I just think to myself, so you think the way to fix that is to give less reasons,
less attractions.
Attractions. I'm like, what are you talking about? I go, okay, so yeah, you're right. It's in decline. We should just all pack up and go home. But I go, hey, we gotta have. So I'm for it, but I feel like I come at it from a very different angle than I think most people. But
a big roadblock that I think, because I love your passion for this, and I'm with you, 100%. I'm sold. But people feel like they've been burned before with the AT&T Center, for example. Like everybody was promised the economic development of the East Side, and it never.
But there's no.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'm just.
No, this is great. This is the actual subject of my next article.
Oh, is it?
So in the article I say the actual. There's two reasonable objections that I found. The most reasonable objections of the whole thing is, hey. We did the Alamo Dome expecting an NFL team, didn't happen. We did the Frost Bank Center expecting development on the east side, didn't happen. And I just go, and the objection is, why a third one? I go, those are great objections. Those are probably the most reasonable of all of them.
I agree.
And so, in the article, what I do is I go, hey, I think that I don't have an answer other than to say that's a good objection, and people are right to challenge it. I will say this though. The Dome ended up not being a waste. It's like the largest indoor stadium in the whole region. So if Taylor Swift ever comes, this is the only place in like South Texas that can fit her. But it's packed. I mean, it's the schedule of it's packed. The parking's terrible, which they need to fix. And so it hasn't been wasted because I think it's become part of our tourist infrastructure. Mm-hmm. But the objection is a great objection. The East Side Frost one is another reasonable objection. And I thought, well, what are they going to do? So when I was doing my research, there's this whole plan to basically hand it over to the rodeo and make it a whole Western district. Mm-hmm. And I just go, hey, that, the Western industry is crazy. It's got a lot of people with really high disposable income. The average stays are a lot longer. And so if I'm going to take my trailer to a show, I'm probably staying a couple nights, mm-hmm. which means they probably are going to immediately need a hotel. They're probably going to need some restaurants in that area. So I actually think that giving it over to that group will actually spur it because it's going to be a big district. Whereas you had Western and then the Spurs. You know what I mean? The two really don't, they're mm-hmm. not in the same category. And I think that And so at the end of the article, what I'm proposing is, I think it's a great objection, and I would say that the reason I think this time is different is because for the first time ever, we're moving away from development in islands and developments in districts. And so the Western District can be a district, and really, if you have the AT&T Center next to the Alamo Dome and it's already in Hemisphere Park, you've already guaranteed its districtness. And so I think the reason, and I would just say, I believe in districts because we didn't invent them. They've been invented since the dawn of cities. Mm-hmm. And so I think this time is different. But I totally understand that someone goes, yeah, but I'm tapped out and not do it. But I still think it's worth doing. But I think those are reasonable objections.
Man, I think it's fantastic perspective.
Yeah.
Now you just got to get the word out there.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is people don't realize that companies will leave and won't come here.
Yeah.
If we don't have entertainment. Good entertainment,
dude, 100%.
Employees.
I wrote an article about the soft metrics before I did my series, and I opened it with it was an urban legend that AT&T left because the CEO's wife hated San Antonio and she wanted to move to Dallas.
That's been around forever.
Yes, and after I wrote the article, some super high up dude said, "Oh yeah, I was on that team and I can verify that everything you said is correct." That wife hated it and she wanted them to. I think it was a politician that told me that. And I just go, people don't realize that we're always we're this close at all times. Always. We're competing. Always. You are always competing, and you have to have a competitive edge. Yeah. You know this better than anybody.
And I've been living this because I owned businesses downtown since '96 when AT&T left, and when kind of the urban core started, people started fleeing from downtown, and it really was detrimental. But I live on a daily basis what you're talking about. The fact that trying to convince people if they don't have a family to move here, it's a fool's errand.
Yes.
It really doesn't work. I look for individuals, I identify individuals that have family and want to plant roots, because there really isn't a better place to grow your family than San Antonio.
Yes.
It's just not a good place for singles or young married people, because there's just not a lot of extracurricular. Like the Pearl, it is a game changer in a sense, but there's just not a lot to do there.
That's right.
And right outside of that district, it's just not walkable. Where else?
Yes.
I love what's happening between the Pearl and downtown, because
River North, it's great.
It's becoming populated. And I live for the day when we can put our cars in our garage and just say that I'm done driving, man.
Yes.
But I think we're so far from that. But to your point, that district is just one stadium or one arena away from being a real district.
Yes. The last thing I'll say to your recruiting thing, because this, I lived it for so long, is the only young people you can get, you have to give them the pitch. I call it it's almost the urban missionary pitch. Mm-hmm. You have to say, I'm looking for pioneers. If you're a pioneer and you have the pioneer spirit, you can join our crazy adventure, because the adventure implies it does. Do your thing here and help us create it. And I always fantasize, if I'm doing the pitch in front of a graduating class of seniors at Trinity, and I go, hey, 99% of you are going to ignore everything I say, which is fine. You're going to go move to a city that's already been built and it's great. But there's 2 or 3 of you that have adventure a pioneer inside you, and you're going to have to help us make the yoga studio, not move to the city that already has it. You're going to have to help us make the coffee shop. And the people that are pioneers, you can see it. They're down for that. So it's almost the challenge of adventure. Hey, because adventure says there's hardship. There's hardship, you're gonna have to put up with it. But that's the only category in this season that we can get until it tips. So
love it, man.
That's solid. That's.
I'll get a win time. Are we good on time?
No, we're good. So are we getting to Mr. Juicy in the new Project Marvel Stadium?
Man, I wish. They're probably already talking to Whataburger or Johnny Hernandez. One of the two.
That's hilarious. Hey, you never know. I think they're getting beat up enough to where now's the time we can put
I saw Peter Holt's wife. She was real excited on social media about Max's sister, my new concept, I put something out there, and she said, "We can't wait." And I wanted to say, "Well, help me with Mr. Juicy at the Marvel Project."
Yeah.
But Johnny is everything like that on lockdown, man. Like there's just no room for anybody else. It's crazy, man.
That's crazy. I don't know. I mean, is it just good lobbying or like I don't?
I think a big part of it is lobbying.
Yeah,
that's a big part.
Because
of it.
he has the airport too, and
yeah.
But I think Jason Dady's getting something in the airport.
Well, so when here's what happened. I know the airport intimately because I was part of the winning team 5 years ago. We went up against Johnny. I was living in Costa Rica at the time. They flew me in, and I spoke in front of city council, and not patting myself on the back, but I think I'm the one that helped tip that.
That's great.
And the restaurants that were at the end of their contractual obligation with the airport were on their way out, so they needed new concepts. They narrowed it down to 2 groups. It was the group I was part of, Paradis Legadere, and then the group that Johnny was a part of. And the city council decided on us, and we got our concepts in there, but they regrouped and figured out what they did wrong and whatnot. And in this new iteration, they cleaned the board, man. They got pretty much everything. And that's a team that Johnny assembled. It was Jason Dady and Nicola Black and from Jerk Shack and a couple other individuals. And there's going to be great concepts in there. There's no doubt about it. But
they need to work on Terminal 2. Terminal 2 has
pretty,
terrible options.
Yeah.
I just think that, well, I don't want to get into the whole airport thing because that's a whole nother
Yeah, but I think your point about Marvel is right. Like, I think this is the time for them to really show some love.
It really is. It's just going to be hard convincing a lot of people that are just like, they have it in their mind that it's going to be a billionaire getting wealthier.
Yes.
And
Yes,
they don't
right.
understand why
Yes.
That should be the case.
Well, I had a conversation at my house with somebody a couple of days ago, and we were talking about Project Marvel. I was like, we need it. And he was like, well, what about the people that got swept off the road on Perrin Vital? Like, we need to fix the roads. And I was like, that money cannot go there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And some people understood it, some people were like, man, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, and I think this is part of the misinformation is that, also there's, like, the city has, they just have so many finance tools. There's PIDs and TERS and PFs. Like, there's just so many that most people don't know them. I didn't know them until, like, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But they're all regulated. But my branding mentor always used to say, he called it the one rule of carry-on. People only have room for one story in their head per category. And so they go, money, it's for them, it's very simple math. The money here is money not used over here. Where you just go, well, actually, it's not. It doesn't even come from that bucket. Like you start breaking it down. But it's very simple for them to say they're taking $1 from something that can help me to $1 that helps a rich guy.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think about. I don't want to conflate the two. I'm not saying that there's money going towards this. It could be going towards that. But what is your thought on the green line that's going down San Pedro?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I feel like I feel like when it comes to transportation in San Antonio, we're just sort of in an abusive relationship, like psychologically.
Yes,
I love. And actually, I don't think it's Via's fault. I think actually this is great for this podcast because. There was a couple years ago, there was a sneaky effort by some group that put a proposition on the ballot that no one knows about. I remember it because I was just so appalled and no one was talking about it. And it said that if San Antonio ever wanted to do any type of public transport that required rail going in the ground, it had to go to a citywide vote. And that was this group's way of kiboshing.
Yeah.
And I just go, it broke my heart because in order to have full, effective, citywide, scalable public transport, you have to have something that doesn't use the same lane as a car. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like just like, New York, Paris, you have to be able to get out of that and just keep going. And now we're just sort of what they're doing, which I applaud them for doing it, is hey, we're gonna make it and it's gonna be rapid. And I've just never experienced.
It's kind of a half step.
It's kind of a half step, yeah. And so they're doing the best they can, and I just think so I applaud it, and I'm for it. I just think I would have rather fix that problem. Let's fix the problem and do it the way that actually big cities do it, which is I get on a train, I get on a tube or whatever, and I'm not, because if I'm using the same lane as everyone else, that means I'm going to be clogged up the same way everyone else is clogged up. And the whole reason that I would get on the tube in London when I lived there was because that thing's going to show up every 10 minutes, no matter what. It's just going to show up, and you go. And so you move, you just move lots of people. So I'm for it in theory. And I think it's going to do good, but that's my only worry.
The tube moves a lot of people unless they're on strike, which is what we saw last week.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, which is crazy. I lived there for 3 years, and I never saw it happen, thankfully. But if that hadn't happened, if that had happened when I lived there, I would have been hosed.
People were
they didn't
know what to do.
But that's just the mindset of San Antonio that they have. San Antonio in general has to get off of is public transportation is for people that can't afford a car.
Yeah, I actually think that the way to do it is, it's sort of counterintuitive. I think the way to get San Antonians off their cars is to first do something outside, which is to connect Austin and San Antonio via train. And then make them go, oh, why can't we do this inside the city? And I think, and I'll go even further, because I just, as an urban nerd, I think about this all the time. I actually think that St. Paul Square should be the Grand Central Station of San Antonio. It should be the district that is the gateway into the city via the train.
That'd be awesome.
You know what I mean? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
We go to St. Paul Square, we hang out before.
The history's there.
The history's there. The architecture's there. We hang out before, we get some lunch or coffee, or when we get back, we hang out there. But there's a reason to hang out there.
Yeah.
And you just go in and out, in and out.
Fantastic.
That'd be super cool.
That's the way. By the way, I can't take credit. That's my pastor, Doug, who is actually my urban mentor. Believe it or not, he was the first guy that made me an urban dude, and he was the first one that told me this is what St. Paul Square.
Wow,
I think
awesome,
the way
man.
the way to do it is younger people like me. We get our influence from Reels and TikTok and things like that.
Yes.
We need the influencers going to the park and ride in Stone Oak that nobody uses, or one of the parking rides and things like that.
Yeah.
And getting into downtown that way and getting out of downtown that way.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
documenting that on social media so other people see it and they're like, oh, like this person, like I can do that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it needs to be intuitive. It needs to be easy to do, but I think the hardest part is, but this is going to be really, I don't know if ignorance is the right word, because I haven't ridden Via since I was in middle school. Like I can't answer the question, can I get to my destination in a reasonable time? Because right now the brand is, unfortunately, it's the transport of last resort. It's the mode of last resort. Like I don't have any other option. And so I have to use it, which means if I have to endure a 3-hour ride, I have to endure it because I have no other option.
But I think that's the story that's just told around it.
That's true. That's true. You're right.
Like, we went to Disneyland in California this summer, and our hotel is probably 2 miles away from the park. But instead of driving and like doing that stuff, like we rode the bus there.
Yeah.
And then we go to Disney in Florida, and you ride the buses in between everything. And that's just the story that's told in those places. Like, hey, you do this, so that way you don't have to go park, you don't have to go do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just the story that's
told
told
here. Yeah, but
here.
I'm sure those buses are timely. Not to say that Via's not, but like I have individuals that work for me. I would never open up a restaurant that wasn't on a bus line in San Antonio. It just would never work. Like I would have never opened anything by the Dominion, because there's no way for those folks to get out there.
Wow, that's such an interesting thing. I never think about it.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, even on Northwest Military, some of these guys coming from south of downtown that have to come to me on Military, they may be on the bus for 2 hours, 2+ hours.
Wow, yeah.
And that's tough, man.
Yeah, that's tough. And I think that what's always intrigued me is that, but this goes back to sales. Like, how do you sell an idea? And I think that I always said, hey, how do you, when the streetcar was on the table back then, what happened was, because we have single member districts, it becomes the fairness race. So like everybody needs a trophy versus like, hey, why don't we connect 2 dense nodes that just have a lot of people? Like, I don't know, let's connect the Med Center with somewhere. Mm-hmm. Let's connect airport with the convention center. Like just prove you can move
people
in an efficient way and just show it one time. And I think that this is the problem is the analysis has never been done to go, and it also requires a little bit of an experiment mentality. But that was my thing is I go, well, where are the dense nodes? There's like military bases, there's UTSA, there's a med center, and I'm like, hey man, don't put it in my district. Like put it where and then prove and make everyone go, I want some of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, give me some of that because you've proven it. But I think this, and I'm hoping that, 4-year terms helps us a little bit. Although right now it's really biting us in the butt. But it's like,
more research.
More.
That's her tagline. More research.
I got to run, guys.
All right.
Sorry. Where did Kid go? Did he leave?
Yeah, he had to go pick up his kid. Well, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe. We'll catch y'all on the next episode.